Hey, we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. This is a remake of the classic Metal Gear Solid 3 from 2004, a game that was way ahead of its time, now updated a bit for 2025 technology. That's really it. This is a more straightforward one than I was expecting. Now, just so you know, some context and some bias up front. If some of you guys are newer to the channel, you might not know, but I am a diehard Metal Gear Solid fan. Way back when I played the original Metal Gear Solid 1, and I consider that game the reason why I'm here doing this stuff. That's when I became obsessed with video games. 1 is my favorite game, and I've replayed that one the most, but I consider them all my children, so it's complicated as a fan, seeing Konami coming back to remake the most beloved game in the series without series creator Hideo Kojima. That and the fact that these games are pretty sacred ground. Look, I was nervous. There's a lot of room for error. Now, there are things to nitpick here and there, but generally, this is an extremely safe, good remake. They didn't screw it up, in my eyes. I think hardcore fans will have some things that they're really cool with, a few things that might annoy them a little, but it's a solid enough presentation of the original games for new players to check out, for sure. Long story short, whenever I find myself in these situations with new players, like asking, do I play the original game or the remake of the game? Well, here, you can play the remake. I think it's a good enough representation, again. Because like I said, it's safe. It is slavishly faithful to the original. It doesn't play any games. All the hidden content is still there, all the strange Kojima oddities and awkward stuff. It feels like Metal Gear still. It's not censored or watered down. It's just the original game with control tweaks and a new coat of paint. Now, let's talk about that new coat of paint first. The visuals here. For my money, it all comes down to the character models. These new character designs look great, and I think it absolutely heightens the experience. Snake gets muddy, wet, he shows a little damage over time. Guard enemies actually kind of look like real soldiers. Hair looks realistic. Camouflage outfits show way more detail and look better than just like a texture swap. Metal Gear Solid 3's original art style, like, props to them, it held up well. Those characters are actually still incredibly expressive for the time. But now, the better lighting and more realistic textures and faces just enhances some already great performances by the voice actors, the animators, and all the original work put in by those original developers. And it's still all the same voice performances, the same cutscene direction, the same shots, which really tells you just how ahead of its time this game originally was. Now it just has a nice Unreal Engine 5 sheen on it. Now it looks like $1 million. Every so often, the old game underneath will show in like an awkward pose or expression, but at this point, I don't know, I think that's part of the charm. Look, the game is preserved. Seeing those characters now in such high fidelity, especially Snake, the boss, and Vulcan as standouts. Look, it's been a hell of a trip for me to experience the story I've experienced 100 times before, but with characters looking more realistic. They're realistic, but still stylized, most importantly. Outfits still look like cool costumes. Snake's bandana cartoonishly furrows along with his brow like Batman's mask. All of it just really works and is fun to watch on screen again. Now, graphics-wise, this was all captured running on a review copy I've been playing on PS5 Pro. And it's not perfect. It's not a locked 60 frames per second. Sometimes it slows down a little bit, but nothing too bad. I just was hoping for like a redo of an old game that would end up being rock solid frame rate wise. But otherwise, it still looks nice and sharp. And also in terms of color palette, you can choose all these different filters that are kind of silly, but there is one important one, a good one, legacy mode filter, which I ended up using for quite a bit of the game and was shocked to see just how much it made it look more like how I remembered color wise. Look, the new creative choices color wise are fine, but I like the legacy filter. A lot of the stuff like that's just personal preference. It's up to you, but definitely check it out in the settings. Otherwise, in terms of visuals, environments are a bit more 50-50 for me because it's such a tight remake. Level design and layout remains the same, and that's cool. Environment design and graphics do make a strong first impression. You know, dense foliage, high quality grass in these jungles everywhere, tons of trees with sunlight streaming through the branches with enhanced lighting. It's got the wow factor factor for old fans, and it just looks good for new fans. But as the game progresses, it feels like some of that nice sheen and attention to detail wears off a bit in spots. Interiors and more industrialized looking areas are upgraded from a technical standpoint, but don't really look as remarkable. Groznygrad, Graniny Gorky Lab, like places that felt cold and industrial and barren in the original still feel pretty barren here. So look, I guess true to form, but just not very exciting looking. Like, they don't really flex the new graphics. It's here in sections that I actually felt more like I was just playing the original again. I don't know if that's like a deal breaker or just how good of a job they did remaking it, but it's just my personal experience. Now, gameplay wise, it is very cool to play through this in this new updated fashion. It's tough to break that muscle memory for old fans, but gameplay feels great. Snake is less clunky, less jerky, less stiff. Movement is smoother overall, and you'll notice it a ton when you do like a seamless run to crawl. It's smooth and it never gets old. They really did a good job with like fixing like the crouch, stand, crawl thing. You can still dive roll to a crawl, and that's good. Grabbing enemies with CQC feels much less awkward, and you're not going to accidentally like choke slam a dude into the ground as much. I like how they did this. My only issue here is that the cover system isn't that good. It's one of those cheap feeling cover systems where you walk up to it and you hope that Snake locks into it like you intended. It's not like an instant push snap to the wall as like the old games. And I think it feels weaker and less reliable here. You only use it so often, but yeah. Aiming in third person looks and feels pretty good, but you're gonna need to get used to way more bullet drop aiming this way with the MK22. Switching to first person is still preferred, like in the OG, and movement in first person is really good now. Crouching into tall grass doesn't trigger first person automatically now. It uses this up close camera angle of Snake in the grass that I found kind of awkward and weird, just a bad angle, so I switched to first person right away. Some of the changes that seemed like they were going to be bigger on the surface that I was worried would like change the flow of the game didn't really. Like being able to equip your camouflage on the fly, like while you're in game and not going to a menu. It didn't really make as much of a difference as I thought it would. It's just a nice little cleanup. Also, the healing menu and eating food is still pretty clunky. It's still very menu heavy. And while that's something that I think they could have tried to tweak more, clean up more, I think it would have kind of changed the feel of the game, the original game. And again, like I said, they seem pretty committed to keeping the feel mostly the same. So that's just how this ended up. And a lot of this stuff, like, the muscle memory I mentioned, can be tweaked in the control settings. When you start the game, there's the option of 2 control modes with custom mappings if you need, which I certainly did because I could not get used to the crouch button being different. But like there's also the difficulty modes and which mode to play. 2 modes, the modern remake mode or legacy mode. Legacy mode gives you the OG Metal Gear Solid 3 camera angles, this sort of, mostly fixed top-down ones, which even as a purist are tough to go back to. I really liked what Subsistence did back in the day with changing this, but anyway, the updates in controls and stuff, they do make it an easier game. Stealth is still tricky, but I was able to cakewalk quite a few bosses. This is a minor complaint because I don't think new players are going to notice that much, and my small issues with the controls aside, I think they overall make it a better feeling and controlling game. Like I said at the start with that, like Snake just feels a bit less stiff and jerky, and that makes a hell of a difference. Now, this game, it's worth playing for the story, man. There's a reason why I love these characters, why I love this world, and Metal Gear Solid 3 is a big part of that. While yes, it's a crazy, zany, Kojima-esque Cold War spy story with twists, turns, double crosses, and over-the-top superhero villains, it's also got a surprising heart to it. Relationships, mentorship, betrayal. It has a lot to say, and it doesn't tiptoe around it. It does it. It's not like a lot of other games where they allude to things or you can kind of read into things. Metal Gear Solid 3 wears its heart on its sleeve, and that's what I've really always loved about it. And I love that all of that is preserved, even very long codec conversations, quite a few at the start of the game, I think might scare some new players away, or like people are gonna skip dialogue, but that's what makes these games so special. Look, I know some people don't want to sit and stare at a cutscene for a while, but These games, I think, really pioneered that, and it just makes for such a great ride. Again, because it's all preserved. It's not censored, they didn't cut anything, they didn't really tweak anything as far as I've been able to experience, and these games are just fun to play, and also, they've got some replay value, and thankfully, the new game still acknowledges that. It's not the longest game, but Metal Gear games, you kind of like stumble through the first playthrough, and then your second playthrough, you go in like mastering everything. Plus, it comes with all the extras you'd expect, as well as Snake versus Monkey mode, like it's like Snake Ape Escape, which is great, as well as another surprise, which I really enjoyed, that I've seen people been spoiling it on the internet. I don't want to do that. I think the Metal Gear Solid account spoiled it. I'm not going to do that. But just when you beat the game, there's a cool surprise. Along with that, in terms of things that they did tweak, there is one very subtle thing they did about 3/4 of the way through the game, just like a little slight character design tweak that I really, really appreciated. It's so small and most of you aren't going to care. I'm not going to spoil it because I want Metal Gear fans to discover it for themselves, but it was just one small thing I saw and I was like, nice guys. That's a nice addition. That's the right way to do it. And in terms of additions, photo mode is great here. It's not like the most full-fledged photo mode like in like a Sony game or something like that, but it is really wild to go back and play through one of your favorite games, but now with access to instantly pause it and take cool photos. I always try to give love to photo modes. I think they're great. I'm not the best at making cool shots, but I appreciate it, and I'm so looking forward to seeing what the Metal Gear community cooks up with this. Please, guys, make me proud. So look, Metal Gear Solid 3 or Metal Gear Solid Delta, whatever they're calling it, I really enjoyed playing through this. I have my nitpicks as a hardcore fan, but I think overall, like I said, they didn't butcher it. They didn't disgrace it. I think they honored it. Again, they preserved what the original people did. They didn't cut anything. They didn't change anything too hard that turned me off. And now with it looking better and playing a little better, I'm excited for a new generation of people to experience this game. I'm gonna miss Kojima having his hands on this, but as long as they don't make a Metal Gear Solid 6 or anything like that without him, I think I can live. But hey, that's a before you buy. You know how this goes by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now I want to hear yours down in the comments. I would love to know your experience with Metal Gear Solid. Are you as crazy as me? Have you never played them? Is this your first time jumping in? I'm really excited for you. So let's talk. Anything at all, Metal Gear, hit us up down in the comments. The game drops in a couple of days if you're watching this at launch. So thank you for watching. If you get what we're trying to do here, we've been doing it for over a decade. Clicking the like button helps us out. We appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell because we put out new videos every single day. But as always, I'm Jake Baldino. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
I've never felt a tension like this before. That's so different from simply changing a clip. This reload time is exhilarating.
Yes, it's me. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I am still saying pizza's on me on the Friday news show. Yeah, I've been saying it for over 10 years now. No, it doesn't seem like they suspect anything. No, yeah, that's correct. I'm not buying anyone pizza. So it all still is going according to plan. Understood. Thank you, Mr. CIA man.